Apple has started requiring its executives to hold Apple stock worth 3 times their base salary. WSJ's Jessica Lessin has the story, and she joins us now from San Francisco. There she is. Jessica. Interesting story. Isn't this a bit of a U-turn for Apple?
Well, what's interesting is that we've discovered that in early February, Apple implemented this new requirement that execs had to hold 3 times their salary in stock. And it's a change from their proxy, which came out about a month earlier, where there was no mention of this and where they actually urged shareholders to vote against a similar proposal.
No, interesting. Do we know why the U-turn and why they're doing this?
Apple isn't commenting about why, but it's clear that there were a lot of discussions with CalPERS, the large public pension fund, about this issue during this period. And clearly, Apple's facing a lot of heat from shareholders about corporate governance, cash, the stock slide. So it's clear that this was, I guess, part of a conversation, something shareholders had been pushing for. Why they did it at that time before the meeting, which was yesterday, still remains to be seen.
Now, one of the things I find interesting here is that they didn't want to do it, and now they do. How long do these executives have to accumulate 3 times their base salary in stock? Do they have to do it, get in on a Monday, write a huge check, or do they have a year or 6 months? Do we know the details?
They actually have 5 years, so they have a long runway. Of course, many of Apple's senior executives already hold a huge amount of stock. They're very long-term execs. Most have been around for more than a decade at the company. So, all along, Apple had argued something like this wasn't necessary because they felt execs' interests were already very aligned with shareholders. Clearly, they're taking the next step now.
Now, one of the things that's interesting here is that if you have exactly 3 times your salary in stock, and then suddenly the stock tumbles, do you then have to go back to the bank and get another pot of gold out and buy more? Is that what would happen there, or is that clear?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure. I don't know the exact answer about that. Obviously, Apple stock has fluctuated a lot. This seems to be a pretty broad policy. I mean, the 5 years, there's a lot of leeway for people to do this. So I don't think it seems like it would be too onerous on executives. But obviously, the change in Apple's stock price is a factor that has to be considered in compensation these days.
And now, how deep does this go within the company? Obviously, Apple is a huge company. Is this like tens of executives, or is it hundreds, or is it thousands? What are we looking at?
It's a small number. I mean, Apple has about 10-ish senior vice presidents. It doesn't actually define executive in this document, but I think that's the ballpark that we're talking about, that sort of senior vice president level, or around that.
Okay, great stuff, great exclusive. Thank you very much, Jessica Lessin.